The universe trapped in the black hole of ignorance. This story will stay with you long after you close the book. It asks, what if everything you know is just a shadow? What if the real universe is hidden within? Prepare to be stirred, to feel the quiet hum of something larger. A journey from illusion to light, from forgotten prisons to freedom. Find the universe trapped in the black hole of ignorance, now available on Amazon. Download it free with Kindle Unlimited and step beyond the darkness.
There was a time when humanity looked up at the sky, believing it to be real. The sun, the moon, the stars, all seemed eternal, a rhythm to trust. Yet it was only a reflection, a fragile projection inside the invisible walls of a vast black hole. Civilizations rose on illusions of matter, power, and pride, never realizing they were living in a prison of shadows. But something began to stir. In dreams, in sudden encounters, in unexplainable nostalgia, a few felt the veil lifting within them. A flame awoke, the ancient force of Kundalini. It rose like a golden fire through the body, lighting the heart and mind. And in that clarity, they saw the truth. The universe of matter was trapped, but beyond the darkness lived a light that had never gone out. The awakened were not kings or rulers, but ordinary souls. A teacher, a worker, a widow, who carried within them seeds of humility and love. When the light touched them, serenity bloomed. They walked through the same streets as others, yet their spirits lived in another world, like luminous islands in a sea of darkness. In their journeys, they discovered hidden gifts, the power to heal with a touch, to bring peace with a smile, to lift despair with a single word. They entered unseen hospitals of spirit, where lost souls rested in beds of light. They witnessed cities of radiant beauty, where every color sang, where love was the very air one breathed. But awakening was not without trials. Doubt, ridicule, loneliness, all tested their faith. And still, they endured. For true faith was not belief in what could be seen, but the certainty of light when all else seemed dark. Some chose to return to the lower worlds, descending back into shadow for the sake of others. Wrapped in the memory of the higher realms, they carried healing and hope into places heavy with sorrow. They knew they could not save every soul, but even a single spark planted in darkness was worth the journey. In time, they came to understand that the soul's memory is woven with time itself. Pain and joy repeat until they are transformed into light. No one is ever lost. Reincarnation is not punishment, but opportunity, a gift allowing each heart to awaken when it is ready. At last, the awakened stood before the source, a light beyond words. They were given a choice: to remain in the luminous realms or to return to Earth. Some stayed, some descended again, but all carried the same truth. Love is never measured by greatness, only by the willingness to give. And so the story unfolds. Humanity still wanders under a false sky, yet the door of awakening is always open. Those who kindle the inner light discover freedom that no darkness can touch. For beyond the black hole of ignorance, the eternal truth awaits. We are sparks of the divine, destined to return to the source. And so the story unfolds. Humanity still wanders under a false sky, yet the door of awakening is always open. Those who kindle the inner light discover freedom that no darkness can touch. For beyond the black hole of ignorance, the eternal truth awaits. We are sparks of the divine, destined to return to the source. But the path is not always straight, nor free of struggle. For every soul that begins to awaken, countless others remain bound to the illusions of matter. They chase wealth, power, fame, and fleeting pleasures as though they were treasures that could never fade. Yet deep inside, a quiet hunger gnaws at them. They do not always know its name, but it is the soul itself, calling for what cannot be satisfied by possessions or applause. That call grows louder with every disappointment, every heartbreak, every loss. And when a person finally turns inward, when they dare to pause and listen, they may catch the faint whisper of the light. The awakened carry a unique burden. They see the suffering of the world more clearly than ever, but they also see the hidden order within it. They learn that even pain can serve as a teacher. To lose what the ego clings to can become the very doorway through which the heart is freed. To walk through despair can become the bridge to compassion. And so they do not curse their trials, but embrace them, knowing that within every shadow, a spark of transformation waits to be revealed. As their vision expands, they begin to notice the subtle connections threading through all things. A chance encounter with a stranger may hold a hidden message. A dream may carry a teaching from a forgotten realm. Even silence can be full of guidance, as though the universe itself is speaking in a language beyond words. This is the way of the awakened, to walk the same world as others, yet to read it like a living book, every page inscribed with meaning. And still, the black hole continues its deception. It convinces the masses that what they see with their eyes is all that exists. It tempts them to measure their worth in material terms, to compare, to compete, to fear. It weaves a web of forgetfulness so thick that many never question it. Yet from time to time, someone feels the veil thinning. Perhaps in a moment of great loss, when everything they clung to is stripped away. Perhaps in the birth of a child, when they glimpse innocence untouched by worldly illusions. Or perhaps in stillness, when the heart suddenly expands without reason. These cracks in the veil are not accidents. They are invitations. The awakened know that their task is not to escape the world, but to remain in it with eyes open. They are not asked to abandon their families, their work, or their daily lives. Instead, they are called to infuse each moment with awareness. Preparing a meal becomes an offering. A conversation becomes a prayer. A simple act of kindness becomes a beam of light piercing through the darkness. And so, without preaching or demanding, they transform the world around them. Many who remain blind cannot understand this way of being. They look at the awakened with suspicion, sometimes even hostility. They call them naive, dreamers, or mad. Yet secretly, they are drawn to their peace, for even the blind can sense when someone carries a light. And in moments of crisis, when the illusions crumble, it is often the awakened they seek. This is the quiet revolution, an uprising not of armies or weapons, but of hearts. Each soul that awakens becomes like a torch, passing the flame to others. The light does not diminish as it spreads. Instead, it multiplies. And though the black hole of ignorance seems vast and unbreakable, every spark lit within it weakens its hold. One day, when enough hearts burn with this inner fire, the veil itself will shatter. The false sky will fall, and humanity will see clearly what has always been true, that they were never prisoners, except in their own forgetfulness. And yet, even as this future approaches, there is no guarantee. The choice remains in every moment, to open or to close, to awaken or to remain asleep. The universe does not force itself upon anyone. The divine waits with infinite patience, knowing that every soul will eventually return, no matter how long it wanders. Those who have seen the cities of light, who have touched the higher realms, who have stood before the source itself, carry this certainty within them: love never abandons. Time cannot bind the soul forever. Even the darkest night must eventually give way to dawn. That is why they return, again and again, to guide, to comfort, to plant seeds. Some return in bodies, living ordinary lives filled with extraordinary meaning. Others remain as unseen presences, whispering in dreams, inspiring acts of courage, or sending subtle nudges of hope. The story of the awakened is not one of perfection. They stumble, they doubt, they falter. But each fall becomes a deeper lesson. Each wound opens into greater compassion. For to awaken does not mean to be flawless. It means to keep choosing the light, even in the midst of imperfection. And so the narrative continues, carried forward by countless souls across ages and worlds. Humanity still breathes inside the illusion of the black hole, but the cracks are widening. The whispers are growing louder. The light is breaking through. And for every soul who dares to listen, the prison walls dissolve, revealing a freedom that has been there all along.